Widowed and desperate, Amelia Carter sat trapped in her snowbound cabin with her twin babies, Samuel and Eliza, as the storm raged outside. Her husband, William, was gone, leaving her to fend for their small family alone. No partner. No help. Just the howling wind and biting cold. She hugged her children tight, fearing the worst. But then, through the blizzard, a cowboy appeared, steadfast, experienced, and focused on her plight. She thought they were lost. But destiny had other plans. Before we dive in, share where you're watching from and subscribe if you believe that destiny always has a plan. In the Wyoming Territory in 1887, Amelia Carter sat alone in her small cabin. The wind howled outside, pressing against the wooden walls. Winter had come early this year, and the sky was gray and heavy with snow. Amelia looked at her twin babies, Samuel and Eliza, sleeping peacefully wrapped in blankets. Their gentle breaths were the only sound inside the cabin. She missed her husband, William. He had passed away last spring, leaving her to care for their children alone. Amelia remembered how William used to prepare for winter. He would chop wood and stack it high. He would fix the roof and make sure the cabin was warm. Without him, Amelia felt the weight of every task. She had done her best, but the woodpile was smaller this year and the roof still leaked in one corner. The thought of facing the winter without him filled her with dread. The weather report had warned of a blizzard heading their way. The neighbors had come by to check on her. They had offered help, but Amelia had assured them she would manage. She had not realized how severe the storm would be. Now, looking out the window, she saw the first snowflakes drifting down. The sky had darkened and the storm was near. Amelia knew she needed more water. The creek was not far, just a short walk from the cabin. She hoped to be quick and return before the storm fully hit. She wrapped herself in her thickest coat and pulled on her boots. She hesitated, glancing back at her children. They were so small and helpless. Her heart ached with the weight of responsibility. She took a deep breath and stepped outside, closing the door softly behind her. The cold air bit at her face, and the wind tugged at her coat. She walked quickly towards the creek, her feet crunching in the thin layer of snow. The path was familiar, but the growing storm made it seem strange and unfamiliar. As she reached the creek, Amelia hurried to fill her buckets. The water was icy cold, and she worked quickly. The wind was picking up, and the snow was falling thicker now. She could hardly see the cabin through the swirling white. She realized she had underestimated the storm's speed. Fear gripped her as she turned back, clutching the heavy buckets. The walk back felt longer. The snow stung her eyes, and the wind pushed against her. She stumbled once, spilling some water, but she forced herself to keep moving. Her mind was filled with thoughts of Samuel and Eliza. She had to get back to them. Their safety depended on her. Finally, the cabin came into view. Relief washed over her as she reached the door. She hurried inside, closing it against the storm. The warmth inside was comforting, but the fire was low. She set the buckets down and quickly added more wood to the flames. The fire crackled and slowly filled the room with warmth. Amelia checked on the twins. They were still asleep, unaware of the storm outside. She touched their small faces gently, feeling grateful for their safety. But her relief was short-lived. She realized the storm could last for days. Her supplies were limited, and the woodpile was dwindling. She would have to ration the firewood to make it last. As the storm raged outside, Amelia felt isolated. The cabin seemed smaller and colder. She thought of her neighbors and their warm homes. She wished she had accepted their help. But pride and fear of being a burden had kept her from asking. The hours passed slowly. The wind howled and the snow piled higher against the cabin. Amelia kept busy, tending the fire and checking the windows for drafts. She tried to keep her spirits up, but worry gnawed at her. She was alone with two small children, facing a blizzard with few resources. As night fell, the storm showed no sign of stopping. The cabin creaked under the weight of the snow. Amelia wrapped Samuel and Eliza in extra blankets, whispering soothing words to them. They stirred but did not wake. Their peaceful faces gave her strength. She could not give in to fear. She had to stay strong for them. Sleep was elusive. Amelia lay awake, listening to the storm. Memories of William filled her mind. His laughter, his strength, his gentle touch. She missed him terribly. Tears filled her eyes, but she brushed them away. She had to focus on the present, on survival. In the early hours of the morning, the storm finally quieted. The wind died down and the snow stopped falling. Amelia rose and looked out the window. The world was covered in a thick blanket of white. The path to the creek was gone and drifts reached the windowsills. The silence was overwhelming. The storm had passed, but the danger was not over. Amelia felt a sense of urgency. She needed help and she needed it soon. The Anderson farmstead was 5 miles away. It was a long distance in good weather, let alone through deep snow. But she knew she had no choice. Amelia bundled up Samuel and Eliza, wrapping them tightly in blankets. She dressed warmly, preparing for the journey. Her heart pounded with fear and determination. She could not fail them. She had to reach the Andersons and find help. Before leaving, she stoked the fire and left some food for when they returned. She took one last look around the cabin, then stepped outside into the cold morning. The snow was deep and every step was a struggle. Her breath formed white clouds in the air, and her feet sank into the snow. Carrying the twins was difficult, but their small weight gave her strength. She moved slowly, each step measured and careful. The snow crunched beneath her boots, and the cold seeped through her layers. She kept her eyes on the path ahead, focusing on her goal. The journey was long and exhausting. The snow seemed endless, and the path was hard to find. But Amelia pressed on, driven by the need to keep her children safe. The thought of their small faces kept her moving, even when her body ached and her spirit wavered. Eventually, the Anderson farmstead came into view. Relief washed over Amelia as she saw smoke rising from the chimney. She quickened her pace, her heart filled with hope. She would find help here. The Andersons would offer warmth and safety. As she approached the door, Amelia felt a surge of gratitude. She had made it. Her strength and determination had brought them through the storm. She knocked on the door, feeling the warmth of victory and the promise of safety. Inside, the Andersons welcomed her with open arms. They took the twins and wrapped them in warm blankets. Amelia sank into a chair, exhaustion overtaking her. The warmth of the house and the kindness of the Andersons filled her with relief and gratitude. She had faced the storm and come through. Her children were safe and she was not alone. Jackson Reed was a man familiar with the land. He had spent years working as a cowboy and tracker in the Wyoming Territory. His skills were known to many, and he was respected for his ability to navigate the harsh landscapes. On this particular morning, he was preparing for a journey. He had a job to deliver cattle to a ranch not too far from the town. Before setting out, Jackson heard the whispers of an approaching storm. The men at the saloon spoke of it, their voices low and serious. Jackson listened, his mind calculating the risks. He knew the land well, and he understood the power of a storm. It could turn the familiar into the treacherous. As Jackson saddled his horse, Thunder, he weighed his options. He could delay the delivery, but time was money and the rancher was counting on him. He decided to proceed, but with caution. He packed extra supplies, including blankets and food. Experience had taught him to always be prepared. Jackson thought of old Joe, a friend who lived alone near the creek. Joe was an old-timer, set in his ways and stubborn as a mule. Jackson worried about him, especially with the storm coming. It wasn't far out of his way to check on Joe, and he felt a sense of duty to do so. The sky was already overcast as Jackson set out. The air was cold and the wind had a sharp edge. He urged Thunder forward, keeping a steady pace. The cattle moved along, their breath misting in the cold morning air. Jackson kept a close eye on the sky, watching for signs of the impending storm. The trail led Jackson through familiar territory. He knew every rise and dip, every twist and turn. But as the day wore on, the weather began to change. The wind picked up and snowflakes began to fall. At first, they were gentle, but soon they grew thicker and more insistent. Jackson felt the temperature drop. The cold seeped through his coat, biting at his skin. He pulled his hat lower, shielding his face from the wind. The cattle were restless, sensing the change. Jackson spoke to them softly, calming their nerves. Reaching old Joe's place became his priority. The storm was building, and Jackson knew he needed to make sure Joe was safe. The path to Joe's cabin was narrow and winding, bordered by trees that swayed in the wind. Snow was accumulating, making the way slippery and difficult. Jackson urged Thunder on, the horse's hooves crunching through the snow. The cabin came into view, but something was wrong. Smoke did not rise from the chimney, and the door was closed tight. Jackson approached cautiously, his instincts on high alert. He dismounted and knocked on the door. There was no answer. The cabin was silent. Jackson tried the door, finding it unlocked. He pushed it open and stepped inside. The room was cold and empty. Joe was nowhere to be found. Jackson searched the cabin. It was clear Joe had not been there for a while. A feeling of unease settled over Jackson. Joe was a creature of habit. He wouldn't leave his home without a good reason, especially with the storm approaching. Thinking quickly, Jackson decided Joe might have sought shelter elsewhere. Perhaps he had gone to town or to a neighbor's place. There was little Jackson could do now with the storm getting worse. He had to return to his own cabin and wait it out. As Jackson left Joe's cabin, the snow was falling thickly. The world was turning white, the landscape shifting under the storm's influence. Visibility was poor and the wind howled through the trees. Jackson mounted Thunder, ready to head back. On the way, something caught his eye. A barely visible trail led away from the main path. It was faint, almost lost in the snow. Jackson hesitated, his instincts urging him to investigate. He trusted his gut, knowing it had saved him more than once. Following the trail, Jackson moved cautiously. The snow was deep and the cold was biting. The trail led him into a small clearing, and what he saw shocked him. A woman bundled in a heavy coat was struggling through the snow. Two small figures were with her, wrapped in blankets. Jackson's heart raced as he realized they were children. The woman looked exhausted, her movements slow and labored. The storm was relentless, and Jackson knew they wouldn't last long in these conditions. He urged Thunder forward, calling out to the woman. She turned, her eyes wide with fear and relief. Jackson could see she was at the end of her strength. He acted quickly, dismounting and approaching her. He spoke calmly, reassuring her that he was there to help. The woman's name was Amelia, and the children were her twins, Samuel and Eliza. Jackson saw the desperation in her eyes, the fierce determination to protect her children. He wrapped them in his coat and blankets, securing them on Thunder's back. Amelia looked at him with gratitude, her fear easing slightly. Jackson knew they had to move fast. The storm was closing in and time was running out. He helped Amelia onto the horse, making sure the twins were secure. Then he led the way, guiding them back towards his cabin. The journey was hard. The snow was deep and the wind was merciless. Jackson kept a steady pace, his focus on getting them to safety. Thunder moved with care, sensing the urgency. Jackson stayed by their side, offering words of comfort and encouragement. As they traveled, Jackson thought about the woman and her children. He admired her courage and strength. She had braved the storm for her children's sake, risking everything. Jackson felt a deep respect for her and a desire to ensure they reached safety. Finally, after what felt like hours, the cabin came into view. Jackson felt a surge of relief. They had made it. He hurried forward, leading Thunder to the door. He helped Amelia down, then carried the twins inside. The cabin was cold, but it was shelter. Jackson set to work immediately, building a fire and preparing warm blankets. He could see Amelia's exhaustion, and he moved quickly to make them comfortable. The warmth of the fire filled the room, pushing back the cold. Amelia watched Jackson work, her eyes filled with gratitude. She had been so afraid, but now there was hope. Jackson's presence was steady and reassuring, a lifeline in the storm. She felt a flicker of trust, knowing they were in good hands. As the fire crackled, Jackson looked at Amelia and the twins. They were safe for now. The storm still raged outside, but inside the cabin there was warmth and safety. Jackson knew they would face challenges in the days ahead. But for the moment, they could rest. The storm had brought them together, and together, they would weather what lay ahead. Amelia sat in Jackson's cabin, warming her hands by the fire. The heat spread slowly through her cold fingers. The twins, Samuel and Eliza, were wrapped in blankets and sleeping soundly. Their small faces were peaceful in the flickering light. Amelia's heart filled with relief as she watched them. They were safe for now, but her mind was troubled. The storm outside was fierce and showed no signs of letting up. Jackson moved quietly around the cabin, tending to the fire and preparing food. He was a man of few words, but his actions spoke of kindness and care. Amelia was grateful for his help. Without him, she and the twins might not have survived the storm. Despite the warmth and safety, Amelia felt the weight of her situation. Her own cabin was buried under snow, and her supplies were running low. She knew she could not stay here indefinitely. They needed a long-term plan, but the storm made everything uncertain. The wind howled outside, and the snow piled against the windows. The world was a white blur, with no clear path forward. Amelia's thoughts turned to the Anderson farmstead. She had been heading there for help, but the storm had driven her off course. Now, she was unsure of what to do next. She looked at Jackson, who was busy stirring a pot over the fire. His presence was reassuring, and she sensed he was a man who understood hardship. Amelia decided to share her concerns with him. She needed guidance, and he seemed like someone who could offer it. When Jackson finished his task, Amelia spoke. She explained her situation, her worries about the twins, and her need for assistance. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her fear. She hoped Jackson would understand and offer advice. Jackson listened carefully, nodding as she spoke. He understood the gravity of her situation. The storm had trapped them and resources were limited. But he also knew that panicking would not help. They needed to think clearly and act wisely. He reassured Amelia that they were safe for now. The cabin was stocked with enough supplies to last a few days. He suggested they wait until the storm passed before making any decisions. It was too dangerous to venture out in such weather. Amelia agreed, knowing he was right. As the hours passed, they settled into a quiet routine. Jackson's calm demeanor helped ease Amelia's anxiety. He shared his plans for when the storm cleared. He spoke of checking on his cattle and making sure his friend Old Joe was safe. Amelia listened, feeling comforted by his confidence. The twins woke occasionally, needing food and attention. Amelia tended to them with gentle hands, grateful for the warmth and shelter. She sang softly to them, her voice a soothing presence in the small cabin. Jackson watched her with admiration, impressed by her strength and dedication. The storm continued to rage, but inside the cabin, a sense of peace began to grow. Amelia found herself trusting Jackson more with each passing hour. His kindness and quiet strength were a balm to her frayed nerves. She realized she was not alone in this struggle. Despite the challenges, Amelia felt a flicker of hope. The storm would end eventually and they would find a way to move forward. She knew she could rely on Jackson's help and guidance. Together, they would face whatever came next. As night fell, the wind howled louder, rattling the windows. The fire crackled, casting warm light and shadows around the room. Amelia and Jackson sat in silence, each lost in their thoughts. The twins slept nearby, their breathing soft and steady. Amelia's mind drifted to her husband, William. She missed him dearly, especially in moments like this. But she felt his presence in her heart, urging her to be strong. She knew he would want her to keep fighting, to protect their children at all costs. Jackson, too, thought of his past. He remembered his own losses, the loved ones he had lost to time and circumstance. The pain still lingered, but he had learned to live with it. He understood Amelia's grief and admired her resilience. In the quiet of the cabin, a bond began to form. It was a connection born of shared struggle, of facing adversity together. Amelia and Jackson found solace in each other's company, drawing strength from their newfound friendship. The storm continued through the night, but inside the cabin there was warmth and safety. Amelia and Jackson took turns watching the fire, making sure it stayed lit. The hours passed slowly, but there was comfort in the routine. As dawn approached, the storm finally began to abate. The wind lessened and the snow ceased its relentless fall. The world outside was still buried under white, but the worst of the storm was over. A new day was dawning, bringing with it new challenges and possibilities. Amelia and Jackson awoke to a quieter world. The cabin was filled with soft morning light and the air was still. They rose and began preparing for the day ahead. There was much to do, but they felt ready to face it together. Jackson checked the supplies, ensuring they had enough food and firewood. Amelia tended to the twins, feeding them and wrapping them warmly. The routine was simple, but it was a step towards normalcy. With the storm behind them, they could begin planning their next move. Amelia knew she needed to return to her own cabin and assess the situation. Jackson offered to accompany her, to help clear the snow and check for damage. Amelia was grateful for his offer. She knew she could not manage alone, and Jackson's presence was reassuring. Together, they could tackle the tasks ahead and begin rebuilding what the storm had taken. As they prepared to leave, Amelia felt a sense of determination. The storm had tested her, but she had come through stronger. With Jackson by her side, she felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. The cabin door opened, revealing a world transformed by snow. The landscape was pristine and untouched, a blank canvas waiting to be filled. Amelia and Jackson stepped out into the cold, their breath forming clouds in the crisp air. They moved carefully, navigating the deep drifts. The path to Amelia's cabin was hidden, but they forged ahead, step by step. The journey was difficult, but they took it together, supporting each other along the way. As they neared the cabin, Amelia felt a surge of emotion. Her home was buried under snow, but it was still standing. It was a symbol of her resilience, of her determination to protect her family. With Jackson's help, they began the task of digging out the entrance. The work was hard, but they made progress. Slowly, the cabin emerged from its snowy cocoon, a testament to their efforts. Inside, the cabin was cold and dark, but Amelia saw it with new eyes. It was a place of safety, a refuge she would rebuild with care. She knew there was work to be done, but she felt ready to face it. Jackson stood beside her, offering his strength and support. Together, they would clear the snow, repair the damage, and make the cabin a home once more. The storm had tested them, but it had also brought them together. As they worked, Amelia felt a sense of hope. The storm had passed, and a new day had begun. With Jackson's help, she would rebuild and move forward. Together, they would face the future, strong and united. Jackson and Amelia worked steadily, clearing the snow from around her cabin. The morning was cold but clear, the storm finally behind them. With each shovel of snow, they revealed more of the small wooden structure. Amelia felt a mix of relief and determination. Her home was still standing, ready to shelter them once again. The twins, Samuel and Eliza, watched from a safe spot nearby, bundled in blankets and coats. Their laughter floated on the crisp air, a reminder of the life and joy that filled Amelia's heart. Jackson smiled at them, appreciating the sound of their happiness after the storm's harshness. As they continued to work, Jackson noticed something unusual. Tracks in the snow, leading away from the path they had taken. They were faint but distinct, barely visible in the fresh layer. His curiosity piqued. Jackson decided to investigate further. He felt it was important to know who or what had passed by during the storm. Amelia watched him with interest, trusting his instincts. She knew Jackson's skills as a tracker were unmatched. If anyone could uncover the mystery of the tracks, it was him. She paused in her work, waiting to see what he would find. Jackson followed the trail, his eyes scanning the ground. The tracks led away from the cabin, winding through the snow-covered landscape. He moved carefully, aware of the potential dangers that still lurked beneath the white surface. His mind worked methodically, piecing together the story the tracks told. Suddenly, he stopped. In the distance, he saw a figure moving slowly through the snow. It was a man, bundled in layers against the cold. Jackson recognized him immediately. It was Old Joe, his friend and neighbor. Relief washed over Jackson as he hurried forward to meet him. Old Joe looked up as Jackson approached, a wide grin spreading across his weathered face. He was a tough old man, with a spirit as unyielding as the Wyoming landscape. Jackson greeted him warmly, grateful to see him safe and sound. Joe explained that he had left his cabin before the storm hit, seeking shelter with a friend in town. He had been concerned about Jackson and had decided to make his way back as soon as the storm cleared. His journey had been difficult, but he was determined to check on his friend. Jackson was glad to hear Old Joe was safe. He introduced him to Amelia, explaining her situation and how they had weathered the storm together. Joe listened, nodding thoughtfully. He understood the challenges they faced and offered his help without hesitation. Together, they returned to Amelia's cabin where the twins greeted Old Joe with curious eyes. He chuckled, tipping his hat to them in a friendly gesture. Amelia appreciated his kindness, feeling the strength of community and support. Old Joe examined the cabin, offering advice on repairs and improvements. His experience and wisdom were invaluable, and Amelia felt grateful for his guidance. Jackson and Joe worked together, discussing plans and sharing stories of past winters. As the day wore on, the work continued. Amelia felt a sense of camaraderie with Jackson and Joe. They were united by shared purpose and determination. The storm had tested them, but it had also brought them together. Their efforts were a testament to resilience and hope. During a break, Joe shared news of another storm brewing on the horizon. It was not uncommon for winter to bring multiple storms in quick succession. Amelia felt a pang of worry, but Jackson and Joe's calm presence reassured her. They would prepare and they would face it together. Old Joe's presence brought a new dynamic to the group. His stories were full of humor and life, bringing laughter to the cold winter day. He spoke of his past adventures, of the challenges he had faced and overcome. His tales were a reminder of the strength of the human spirit. As the sun began to set, the group gathered inside Amelia's cabin. The fire crackled warmly, pushing back the cold. They shared a simple meal, their conversation easy and relaxed. Amelia felt a sense of belonging, surrounded by these kind and generous people. Jackson and Old Joe discussed plans for the coming days. They would stock up on supplies, prepare the cabins, and ensure they were ready for the next storm. Their confidence was infectious, and Amelia found herself feeling hopeful. She knew she could rely on them, that they would face whatever came together. As the evening wore on, the twins fell asleep, their soft breaths filling the room. Amelia watched them, her heart full of love and gratitude. She thought of William, of the life they had shared and the family they had built. She missed him deeply, but she felt his presence in the warmth and safety of the cabin. Old Joe's stories continued, weaving a tapestry of life and laughter. Jackson listened, his eyes bright with amusement. Amelia joined in, sharing her own tales of life with William. Their voices mingled, creating a sense of community and connection. The fire burned low, casting a soft glow around the room. Amelia felt a deep sense of peace, knowing she was not alone. The storm had brought them together, forging bonds of friendship and trust. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, drawing strength from each other. As the night deepened, they settled into a comfortable silence. The cabin was warm and secure, a refuge from the cold world outside. Amelia closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the day lift from her shoulders. She was surrounded by friends, by people who cared. In the quiet of the night, Amelia's thoughts turned to the future. There would be more storms, more challenges to overcome. But she felt ready to face them with Jackson and Old Joe by her side. Together, they would weather whatever came their way, united by a shared purpose and a promise of hope. As she drifted into sleep, Amelia dreamed of brighter days, of spring and renewal. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed the strength within. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. As dawn broke, Jackson was the first to stir. The cabin was quiet, the fire reduced to glowing embers. He rose quietly, careful not to disturb Amelia and the twins, who were still asleep. The night had been peaceful, a welcome reprieve from the storm's chaos. Jackson felt grateful for the calm, knowing it was a chance to prepare for what lay ahead. Old Joe was already awake, sipping a cup of coffee by the window. He nodded to Jackson, acknowledging the start of a new day. The two men exchanged a few words before stepping outside into the cold morning air. The world was still and silent, the snow sparkling under the early light. Jackson and Joe began their morning tasks, gathering firewood and checking the condition of the cabin. They knew that preparation was key to surviving the winter. With another storm looming, every moment counted. The two men worked in comfortable silence, their movements sure and practiced. Amelia woke to the sound of the twins stirring. Samuel and Eliza were full of energy, their laughter filling the cabin. Amelia smiled, feeling the warmth of their presence. She dressed them warmly, preparing for the day's activities. The routine was familiar, a comforting pattern in the midst of uncertainty. Once the children were settled, Amelia joined Jackson and Joe outside. The air was crisp and cold, but the sun shone brightly, adding a touch of warmth. She felt a sense of purpose, ready to contribute to the day's work. Her resolve was strong, fueled by the need to protect her family. Jackson greeted her with a nod, appreciating her determination. He could see the strength in her eyes, a reflection of her will to endure. Together, they discussed the day's plans, outlining the tasks that needed attention. There was much to do, but Amelia felt ready to tackle it. The morning passed quickly, filled with activity. Amelia helped gather supplies, organizing the cabin and ensuring they had enough food and firewood. She worked alongside Jackson and Joe, grateful for their guidance and support. Their teamwork was seamless, a testament to their growing bond. As noon approached, the sun climbed higher, melting some of the snow. The air was crisp and clear, a brief respite from winter's harshness. Jackson suggested a short break, a chance to rest and regroup. They gathered inside the cabin, enjoying a simple meal and exchanging stories. Old Joe's tales brought laughter, lightening the mood. He spoke of winters past, of the challenges he had faced and the lessons he had learned. His stories were filled with wisdom, offering insights into the nature of survival. Amelia listened intently, absorbing the knowledge he shared. Jackson, too, had stories to tell. He spoke of his life as a cowboy, of the trails he had traveled and the people he had met. His experiences were varied and rich, painting a picture of a life lived with purpose. Amelia found his stories fascinating, a window into a world she knew little about. Their conversation flowed easily, a testament to the camaraderie that had developed. The storm had brought them together, forging ties of friendship and trust. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who had come into her life. Their presence was a source of strength and comfort. As the day wore on, Jackson's thoughts turned to the approaching storm. The sky was clear for now, but he knew it wouldn't last. He decided it was time to gather the supplies they would need to withstand the next onslaught. He shared his plan with Amelia and Joe, outlining the steps they would take. They divided the tasks, each taking responsibility for a portion of the work. Amelia felt confident, knowing she was not alone in this endeavor. With Jackson and Joe by her side, she believed they could face whatever came their way. The afternoon was spent in preparation. Jackson and Joe worked to secure the cabin, reinforcing the roof and checking for any weaknesses. Amelia focused on organizing the supplies, ensuring they had enough food and essentials. The work was demanding, but it felt good to be proactive. As they worked, Jackson kept an eye on the horizon. The weather could change quickly in these parts, and he wanted to be ready. He felt a sense of urgency driven by the need to protect those he cared about. The stakes were high, but he was determined to see them through. Old Joe's presence was a comfort, his humor and wisdom a balm to their efforts. He moved with the ease of someone who had faced many winters, his confidence infectious. Jackson appreciated his friendship, grateful for the support he offered. As the light began to fade, the group gathered once more inside the cabin. They were tired but satisfied, knowing they had accomplished much. The fire crackled warmly, casting a soft glow around the room. Amelia felt a sense of peace as she watched the flames dance. The cabin was snug and secure, a safe haven in the midst of winter's grip. She thought of William, of the life they had shared and the family they had built. She missed him deeply, but his memory gave her strength. Jackson sat nearby, his thoughts turning to the future. The storm would test them again, but he felt ready to face it. He looked at Amelia and the twins, feeling a deep sense of responsibility. They had become important to him, a part of his life he hadn't anticipated. The evening passed quietly, each person lost in their thoughts. The twins played nearby, their laughter a reminder of the joy and hope that filled the cabin. Old Joe shared more stories, his voice a gentle presence in the room. As night fell, the group settled in for the night. Amelia tucked the twins into bed, their soft breaths a comfort. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who surrounded her, for the support and friendship they offered. The fire burned low, casting a warm glow around the room. Amelia lay awake for a while, thinking of the challenges ahead. The storm would come, but she felt ready to face it. With Jackson and Joe by her side, she knew they could weather whatever came their way. In the quiet of the night, Amelia's thoughts turned to the future. She dreamed of brighter days, of spring and renewal. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and hope. As morning light filtered through the cabin windows, Amelia woke to the sound of crackling firewood. Jackson was already up, tending to the fire. The warmth spread through the room, pushing back the chill of the winter morning. Amelia felt grateful for the heat, knowing it was vital to their comfort and survival. The twins, Samuel and Eliza, were still asleep, their small forms bundled under blankets. Amelia watched them for a moment, her heart full of love. They were her reason for everything, her motivation to keep going despite the challenges. She rose quietly, careful not to disturb their peaceful slumber. Old Joe was awake too, sitting by the window with a cup of coffee. He gave Amelia a nod, acknowledging the start of a new day. His presence was reassuring, a reminder that they were not alone in the struggle. Together, they had faced the storm and come through stronger. Amelia joined Jackson by the fire, preparing breakfast for everyone. The routine was comforting, a small slice of normalcy amid the uncertainty. Jackson helped, his movements sure and practiced. They worked in harmony, a testament to the bond that had developed between them. As they ate, the conversation turned to the tasks ahead. The storm had left its mark, but there was still much to do. Jackson and Joe discussed plans to reinforce the cabin, ensuring it was ready for the next onslaught. Amelia listened, contributing her thoughts and ideas. The fire crackled warmly, the sound a steady presence in the room. It was a reminder of the work they had done, of the preparations they had made. Amelia felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing they were ready for whatever came next. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength. After breakfast, the group set to work. Jackson and Joe focused on the cabin, checking for any weaknesses and making necessary repairs. They moved with purpose, their experience evident in every action. Amelia admired their dedication, grateful for their help and support. Amelia's tasks were closer to home. She organized the supplies, ensuring they had enough food and essentials to last through another storm. The work was steady and focused, a chance to contribute to their survival. She felt a sense of purpose, knowing her actions made a difference. As the morning wore on, the sun rose higher, casting a warm glow over the snow-covered landscape. The air was crisp and clear, a brief respite from winter's harsh grip. Amelia took a moment to appreciate the beauty, the world transformed by the storm's touch. Jackson joined her, his eyes scanning the horizon. He was always alert, always aware of the weather's whims. Amelia admired his vigilance, knowing it was key to their survival. Together, they stood in silence, each lost in their thoughts. Old Joe's voice broke the quiet, calling them back to the task at hand. There was still much to do, and they could not afford to waste time. Amelia and Jackson returned to their work, their movements efficient and sure. The day passed quickly, filled with activity and purpose. The group worked seamlessly, each contributing their skills and knowledge. Amelia felt a sense of camaraderie, a bond forged in the crucible of adversity. Together, they had faced the storm and come through stronger. As afternoon turned to evening, the group gathered inside the cabin. The fire burned brightly, casting a warm glow around the room. Amelia felt a sense of peace, knowing they had accomplished much. The cabin was secure, their supplies were stocked, and they were ready for whatever came next. The twins played nearby, their laughter filling the room. Amelia watched them with a smile, their joy a balm to her weary spirit. They were her hope, her reason for everything. She would do whatever it took to protect them, to ensure their safety and happiness. Jackson and Joe shared stories, their voices a comforting presence. Amelia listened, feeling the warmth of their friendship. The storm had brought them together, forging ties of trust and support. She felt grateful for their presence, knowing she was not alone in the struggle. As night fell, the group settled into a comfortable routine. The fire crackled softly, the only sound in the quiet cabin. Amelia tucked the twins into bed, their soft breaths a comfort. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who surrounded her, for the support and friendship they offered. Jackson sat nearby, his thoughts turning to the future. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength. He felt a sense of responsibility, a desire to protect and support the people who had become important to him. Old Joe's presence was a comfort, his wisdom and humor a balm to their efforts. Amelia appreciated his guidance, grateful for the insights he shared. Together, they had faced the storm and come through stronger. As the fire burned low, Amelia felt a sense of peace. The cabin was warm and secure, a refuge from the cold world outside. She thought of William, of the life they had shared and the family they had built. She missed him deeply, but his memory gave her strength. In the quiet of the night, Amelia's thoughts turned to the future. There would be more storms, more challenges to overcome. But she felt ready to face them with Jackson and Joe by her side. Together, they would weather whatever came their way, united by a shared purpose and a promise of hope. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed the strength within. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. The morning after the storm was calm. The sky was clear, and the air was crisp and cold. Jackson, Amelia, and Old Joe gathered outside the cabin, surveying the snow-covered landscape. The world was quiet, the only sound the crunch of snow under their boots. Amelia felt a sense of relief. The storm had passed, and they were safe. But she knew there was work to be done. Her own cabin was buried under snow, and she needed to assess the damage. With Jackson and Joe's help, they would begin the process of rebuilding. Jackson led the way, breaking a path through the snow. His movements were sure and steady, his experience evident in every step. Amelia followed, carrying Samuel and Eliza close. Old Joe brought up the rear, his presence a comforting reassurance. As they approached Amelia's cabin, she felt a mix of emotions. Her home was covered in snow, but it still stood strong. It was a symbol of her resilience, of her determination to protect her family. With Jackson and Joe by her side, she felt ready to face the challenges ahead. The group began the task of clearing the snow, working together with a steady rhythm. Amelia felt grateful for their help, knowing she could not manage alone. The work was hard, but it was rewarding. With each shovel of snow, they uncovered more of the cabin. Jackson and Joe focused on the roof, checking for damage and making necessary repairs. Their expertise was invaluable, and Amelia felt grateful for their guidance. Together, they worked efficiently, each contributing their skills and knowledge. As the day wore on, the sun climbed higher, melting some of the snow. The air was crisp and clear, a brief respite from winter's harsh grip. Amelia took a moment to appreciate the beauty, the world transformed by the storm's touch. Inside the cabin, Amelia assessed the supplies. The storm had taken a toll, but they were still well-stocked. She organized the food and essentials, ensuring they had enough to last. The task was a reminder of the importance of preparation, of the need to be ready for whatever came next. With the cabin cleared, the group took a break, gathering inside for a warm meal. The fire crackled, casting a soft glow around the room. Amelia felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing they had made progress. The storm had tested them, but they had come through stronger. Old Joe shared stories from his past, his voice a gentle presence. Jackson listened, his eyes bright with amusement. Amelia joined in, sharing her own tales of life with William. Their voices mingled, creating a sense of community and connection. As the afternoon wore on, Amelia and Jackson discussed plans for the future. They spoke of repairing the cabin, of making it a home once more. Jackson offered his help, and Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude. Together, they would rebuild, drawing strength from their shared determination. The twins played nearby, their laughter filling the room. Amelia watched them with a smile, their joy a balm to her weary spirit. They were her hope, her reason for everything. She would do whatever it took to protect them, to ensure their safety and happiness. Jackson felt a sense of responsibility, a desire to protect and support the people who had become important to him. The storm had brought them together, forging ties of trust and friendship. He was grateful for their presence, knowing they were not alone in the struggle. As evening approached, the group gathered once more inside the cabin. The fire burned brightly, casting a warm glow around the room. Amelia felt a sense of peace, knowing they had accomplished much. The cabin was secure, their supplies were stocked, and they were ready for whatever came next. The conversation turned to the future, to the plans they would make once winter passed. Old Joe spoke of spring, of the renewal and growth it promised. His words were a reminder of the cycles of life, of the hope that lay ahead. Jackson and Amelia listened, their thoughts turning to the possibilities that awaited them. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. As night fell, the group settled into a comfortable routine. The fire crackled softly, the only sound in the quiet cabin. Amelia tucked the twins into bed, their soft breaths a comfort. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who surrounded her, for the support and friendship they offered. Jackson sat nearby, his thoughts turning to the future. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength. He felt ready to face whatever came next, knowing he was not alone. In the quiet of the night, Amelia's thoughts turned to the future. There would be more storms, more challenges to overcome. But she felt ready to face them with Jackson and Joe by her side. Together, they would weather whatever came their way, united by a shared purpose and a promise of hope. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed the strength within. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. The days following the storm were filled with work and planning. Amelia, Jackson, and Old Joe settled into a routine, each person contributing their skills. The cabin was warm and secure, a haven against the cold. The snow outside was deep, but the sky was clear, giving them a chance to prepare for the next storm. One morning, as they gathered around the breakfast table, Old Joe shared some news. He had heard from a traveling peddler that another storm was on the way. This one was expected to be milder, but it was still a reminder of winter's grip. The news set the group into action, each person knowing their role. Amelia focused on the supplies, organizing the food and essentials. She inventoried everything, making sure they had enough to last. Her mind was sharp, her actions efficient. The twins played nearby, their laughter a constant reminder of why she worked so hard. Jackson and Joe turned their attention to the cabin. They checked the roof, reinforced the walls, and ensured the firewood was dry and ready. Their movements were sure and practiced, a testament to their experience. They worked together seamlessly, their bond growing stronger with each task. As they labored, Old Joe shared stories of his past winters. His tales were full of humor and wisdom, offering insights into the challenges they faced. Amelia listened carefully, absorbing his knowledge. She appreciated his guidance, grateful for his steady presence. The day passed quickly, filled with activity and purpose. The group worked tirelessly, united by a shared goal. The storm had brought them together, forging ties of trust and friendship. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude for their support, knowing she was not alone in this struggle. As evening approached, the group gathered inside the cabin. The fire burned brightly, casting a warm glow around the room. Amelia felt a sense of peace, knowing they had accomplished much. The cabin was secure, their supplies were stocked, and they were ready for whatever came next. Old Joe's stories continued, his voice a comforting presence. Jackson listened, his eyes bright with amusement. Amelia joined in, sharing her own tales of life with William. Their voices mingled, creating a sense of community and connection. As the night wore on, the conversation turned to the future. Old Joe spoke of the importance of community, of the support and friendship that bound them together. His words resonated with Amelia, reminding her of the strength that lay within. Jackson nodded in agreement, his thoughts turning to the bonds they had formed. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength. He felt grateful for the people who surrounded him, knowing they were not alone in the struggle. As the fire burned low, the group settled into a comfortable routine. The twins were asleep, their soft breaths a comfort in the quiet room. Amelia watched them with a smile, her heart full of love. They were her hope, her reason for everything. In the quiet of the night, Jackson and Amelia shared a moment of reflection. They spoke of the challenges they had faced, of the strength they had found within. Their conversation was honest and open, a testament to the bond that had formed between them. Jackson felt a deep sense of responsibility, a desire to protect and support the people who had become important to him. The storm had brought them together, forging ties of trust and friendship. He was grateful for their presence, knowing they were not alone in the struggle. Amelia felt a sense of peace, knowing she was not alone. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed their strength. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. As the night deepened, the fire's glow softened, casting gentle shadows around the room. Amelia and Jackson sat together in silence, each lost in their thoughts. The quiet was soothing, a moment of calm in the midst of winter's challenges. Amelia's mind drifted back to her husband, William. She missed him dearly, but his memory gave her strength. She thought of the life they had shared, of the family they had built together. Her heart ached with loss, but it was also filled with gratitude for the love they had known. Jackson sensed her reflection, and he offered a gentle reassurance. His presence was steady and comforting, a reminder that she was not alone. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude for his friendship, knowing it was a gift she had not expected. As the fire burned low, the room grew quiet. The twins were asleep, their soft breaths a constant reminder of hope. Amelia felt a sense of peace, knowing they were safe and loved. Old Joe's voice broke the silence, sharing a final story before bed. His words were filled with warmth and humor, a fitting end to the day. Amelia listened with a smile, grateful for the bonds they had formed. As the night wore on, the group settled into a comfortable routine. The room was warm and secure, a refuge from the cold world outside. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude for the people who surrounded her, for the support and friendship they offered. In the quiet of the night, Amelia's thoughts turned to the future. There would be more storms, more challenges to overcome, but she felt ready to face them, with Jackson and Joe by her side. Together, they would weather whatever came their way, united by a shared purpose and a promise of hope. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed the strength within. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. As the days grew longer and the snow began to melt, signs of spring emerged. The harsh winter was giving way to a new season. The sky was clearer, and the sun brought warmth to the land. Amelia, Jackson, and Old Joe felt a sense of renewal and hope. The group gathered outside the cabin one morning, looking over the landscape. The melting snow revealed the damage left by the storms. Amelia's cabin had weathered the winter, but repairs were needed. Amelia knew it was time to start rebuilding, to prepare for the future. With the weather improving, they began the work of repairing and restoring. Jackson and Joe took charge of the structural repairs. Their skills were evident as they assessed the cabin's needs, making sure it would be strong and secure. Amelia watched them work, feeling grateful for their help. Amelia focused on the interior, cleaning and organizing the space. She wanted the cabin to be a home, a place of warmth and safety for her family. Her hands moved with purpose, each task a step towards a brighter future. The twins played happily nearby, their laughter a constant presence. Samuel and Eliza were full of energy, exploring the world emerging from under the snow. Their joy was infectious, lifting the spirits of everyone around them. As the days passed, the group settled into a routine. Each morning, they worked on the cabin, making steady progress. Amelia felt a sense of accomplishment with each task completed. The cabin was becoming a home again, a place of comfort and security. Jackson and Amelia spent many evenings discussing their plans. They spoke of the repairs, of the improvements they would make. Their conversations turned to the future, to the possibilities that lay ahead. Jackson admired Amelia's determination, her strength evident in every decision. Old Joe's presence was a comfort, his stories a source of wisdom and humor. He shared tales of his own experiences, offering insights into the challenges of life in the Wyoming Territory. Amelia valued his guidance, grateful for the lessons he shared. As the cabin neared completion, Jackson and Amelia found themselves spending more time together. Their bond had grown, forged in the crucible of winter's trials. They spoke openly, sharing their thoughts and dreams, their hopes for the future. Amelia felt a sense of connection with Jackson, a deep understanding that had developed over time. She appreciated his kindness, his steady presence a source of strength. His friendship had been an unexpected gift, one she treasured deeply. Jackson, too, felt a connection with Amelia. He admired her resilience, her unwavering commitment to her family. He found himself drawn to her strength, her determination to build a better future. Their shared experiences had forged a bond that was strong and enduring. As spring approached, the group worked tirelessly to prepare for the new season. The cabin was nearly complete, each repair a testament to their hard work and dedication. Amelia felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished, knowing it was a foundation for the future. With each passing day, the landscape changed, revealing the beauty of the land. The trees began to bud and the air was filled with the promise of new life. Amelia felt a sense of hope, knowing that spring would bring renewal and growth. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of color, Jackson and Amelia stood together outside the cabin. The world was quiet, the air filled with the scent of spring. They spoke of the work they had done, of the plans they had for the future. Their conversation turned to their feelings, to the bond that had developed between them. Jackson spoke of his admiration for Amelia, of the respect he felt for her strength and courage. Amelia listened, her heart full of gratitude for his friendship and support. She spoke of her own feelings, of the connection she felt with Jackson. His presence had been a source of comfort and strength, a reminder that she was not alone. Together, they had faced the challenges of winter, building a foundation for the future. As they stood together, the promise of a new beginning filled the air. Amelia felt a sense of peace, knowing that she and Jackson would face the future together. Their bond was strong, forged in adversity and strengthened by trust. Old Joe watched from a distance, his eyes filled with understanding. He had seen the bond between Amelia and Jackson grow, a testament to the power of friendship and love. He smiled, knowing that they would find happiness in the days to come. As night fell, the group gathered inside the cabin, the fire casting a warm glow around the room. Amelia felt a sense of peace, knowing they were safe and secure. The cabin was a home once more, a place of love and laughter. The trials of winter were behind them and a new season lay ahead. Amelia, Jackson, and Joe had faced the challenges together, emerging stronger and more united. Their bond was a testament to the strength of the human spirit, a reminder that hope and love could overcome even the harshest trials. In the quiet of the night, Amelia's thoughts turned to the future. There would be new challenges, new paths to explore. But she felt ready to face them with Jackson and Joe by her side. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. As spring fully embraced the Wyoming Territory, the days grew warmer and the land came alive. The harsh memories of winter slowly faded, replaced by the vibrant promise of new beginnings. Amelia, Jackson, and Old Joe had worked hard to rebuild and restore. Their efforts were visible in the strong, secure cabin and the organized supplies ready for the coming months. One sunny morning, the community gathered to celebrate the end of winter and the start of a new season. Neighbors from nearby farms and cabins arrived, bringing food and warm smiles. The gathering was a chance to share stories, offer support, and strengthen the bonds that had helped them through the cold months. Amelia stood with Samuel and Eliza, greeting friends and neighbors. The twins were lively, their laughter mingling with the sounds of the gathering. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude for the community that had surrounded her with kindness and support. Jackson was nearby, talking with a group of fellow ranchers. His presence was reassuring, a reminder of the friendship and trust they had built. Amelia felt a connection with him, a bond that had grown stronger with each passing day. Their shared experiences had forged a deep understanding and respect. Old Joe was at the center of the gathering, sharing tales of winters past and the lessons learned along the way. His stories were filled with humor and wisdom, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. The group listened, their laughter a joyful echo in the spring air. As the day unfolded, the community celebrated with food, music, and dance. Amelia joined in, feeling a sense of joy and freedom. The challenges of winter had been difficult, but they had emerged stronger and more united. Her heart was full as she watched the twins play, their happiness a reflection of the love and security that surrounded them. The gathering brought the community together, a reminder of the importance of support and friendship. Amelia felt a deep appreciation for the people who had become a part of her life. Their kindness and generosity had been a source of strength, helping her through the toughest times. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the gathering, Jackson approached Amelia. They stood together, watching the community celebrate the promise of a new season. Jackson spoke quietly, expressing his gratitude for the bond they had formed. Amelia listened, her heart full of gratitude for his friendship and support. Their conversation turned to the future, to the possibilities that lay ahead. Jackson spoke of his dreams, of the ranch he hoped to build. Amelia shared her own hopes, of creating a home filled with love and laughter for her children. Their visions aligned, a shared dream of a life built on trust and companionship. Old Joe joined them, his eyes twinkling with understanding. He had watched their bond grow, a testament to the power of friendship and love. He offered his wisdom, encouraging them to embrace the future with open hearts. As the evening wore on, the gathering slowly came to an end. Neighbors bid farewell, offering warm hugs and promises to see each other soon. The community had come together to celebrate, strengthening the ties that bound them. Amelia, Jackson, and Old Joe returned to the cabin, the twins sleepy but content. The fire burned brightly, casting a warm glow around the room. Amelia felt a deep sense of peace, knowing they were safe and secure. In the quiet of the night, Amelia reflected on the journey they had traveled. The storms of winter had tested them, but they had emerged stronger and more united. The bonds of friendship and trust they had built were a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Jackson sat nearby, his thoughts turning to the future. The challenges of winter were behind them and new opportunities lay ahead. He felt a sense of purpose, a desire to build a life filled with love and laughter. As the fire burned low, Amelia and Jackson shared a moment of quiet reflection. Their journey had been one of growth and transformation, a testament to the power of love and friendship. Together, they had faced the trials of winter, emerging with a shared vision of the future. The cabin was a home once more, a place of love and laughter. The trials of winter were behind them and a new season lay ahead. Amelia, Jackson, and Joe had faced the challenges together, emerging stronger and more united. In the quiet of the night, Amelia's thoughts turned to the future. There would be new challenges, new paths to explore, but she felt ready to face them with Jackson and Joe by her side. Together, they would build a future filled with love, laughter, and the promise of tomorrow. The storm had tested them, but it had also revealed the strength within. Together, they would embrace the new season, building a life filled with hope and opportunity. The promise of tomorrow was bright, a testament to the power of love and friendship. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.